Welcome to FLPA Talks, a family law podcast. We are FLPA, the Family Law Practitioners Association of Queensland. Family law is a wonderfully rewarding career, but is not without its challenges. Join us as we explore the issues that impact on the practice and well-being of family law practitioners. We hope our episodes will not only inform and inspire you, but encourage you to reach your potential. Enjoy this episode.
Hello and welcome to another episode of FLPA Talks, a family law podcast. I am Emily Ownsworth and today I am joined by two family law solicitors, Jack Shaw from Lewis & Trovis and Ellie Neuendorf from Hopgood Gannon Lawyers. And today we will be discussing finding your feet in your first year working in a firm. Hello, Ellie.
Hello, Emily. Thank you for having me.
Hello, Jack.
Hello, Emily. How are you?
What a pleasure to have you both on. Now, to kick today's episode off, I wanted you both to talk me through why you wanted to specialise in family law and how you got here.
I think we both got pretty different paths. I'll start. I didn't know I wanted to specialise in family law, and I started my grad program here at Hopgood in the litigation team, not knowing I would ever go into family law, and it was Emily herself who said, why don't you give it a go? I definitely wanted an experience where I guess I had exposure to the court system and advocacy. I was pretty attracted to the idea of working directly with clients. And so I thought, why not do a grad rotation? And then they couldn't get rid of me. I loved it.
Yes, it's been so good to have you part of the team. Jack, what's your story?
Mine's extremely different. I never thought I'd see myself working in family law. I wanted to be the typical commercial litigation lawyer like everyone leaving uni did. And I was working as a secretary for a set of barristers, and there was a few of them family barristers, commercial barristers and crime barristers, and they knew that I wanted to do a judge's associateship. And then one day there was a job going at the FCFCOA for an associate to Judge Firth, and one of them suggested that I apply for it, and I thought to myself, oh no, I don't want to work in family law, like I'm not going to apply. And I went home and spoke to, I think it was like a family member, and they said to me, you would be stupid not to just do it, like who cares, it's in family law. Anyway, so I was like, absolutely, okay, I'll apply for the job, and I was very fortunate enough to get it. And fast forward 3-4 years, I'm now working as a family lawyer for a small firm in Brisbane, a boutique firm in Brisbane doing family law. So I loved it.
So when were you admitted?
I was admitted in February of 2023.
And you've been practicing exclusively since? Or was that when you...
No, I was admitted in February 2024. And then I started practicing in February of this year, 2025.
Okay.
So I was an associate for 2 years while I was at uni.
Yep.
And then I overlapped the last semester of uni with doing PLT and working as an associate so that I could start, be admitted in the February.
Okay. And how many people work in the firm that you're at the moment?
Five.
And how have you found settling into that firm?
Good. I think everyone's been really lovely. I really enjoy working for a small team. We're all across everyone's matters, and I feel like there's always a door open to have those conversations when needed. I'm quite close with our associate, Emily, so I always am in there talking through matters and letters and that sort of thing before sending them out. And it's just really nice, like we're sort of like a small little family, and that's why I've enjoyed being at a smaller firm.
Yeah, so I suppose, Ellie, your experience is quite different. So
very different.
You work at Hopgood Gannon?
Work at Hopgood Gannon. We did have a similar experience, I guess, in terms of our uni crossover. I think I also did my PLT while doing an associateship but in the state court, and so I hit the ground running when I joined Hopgood Gannon. So although that was part of a grad program, I was a practitioner from the get-go, so I was really lucky that I didn't have to be practicing and worrying about my PLT at the same time, and yes, I could really focus on just being a grad. So prior to being a grad, I'd had an opportunity to do a clerkship at a few different firms, including Hopgood Gannon, and so while I had a little bit of an understanding of what I was getting into when I started my grad program, I certainly didn't understand, the size of Hopgood Gannon and the fact that there's so many different types of practice groups. And whilst I had started in commercial litigation for my first rotation, there was a lot of choice. and there were a lot of people to mix with and different moving parts to really find my feet in my career and figure out where I wanted to go. And so I guess that's why I feel very lucky that I chose family law as a rotation, because it was perfectly suited to my personality. But also I think things like the size of the team was really well suited to me. I was able to have a lot of mentors and lean on a lot of different people in the team. We're very social, which helps, particularly when you're a younger practitioner. So it was a good fit for me.
So in your first year then, working as a solicitor, what would you say were your biggest challenges working in such a big firm?
In my first year, I think I particularly found it difficult, or a challenge, to work my way through what on earth I was meant to be doing as a solicitor, but then also particularly at a firm of our size, navigating all of the must-dos. So the policies and the processes, and even just the formatting and the style guides, and how to implement good file management. And that was all in addition to understanding the law and how to draft documents and just work out what I need to do to be the best version of a solicitor in that environment.
Yes, and I suppose in such a big firm there is so many different processes that you need to follow, and wrapping your head around all of that can be quite challenging.
Definitely, which has its positives, but yes. I think it's always tough as a baby solicitor.
Yes, and Jack, what did you find were the biggest challenges working in a smaller firm in your first year?
I think this probably goes across smaller and larger firms, but tracking my time and what I'm doing, I really struggled with that when I first started. I'd get to the end of the day and have nothing in my timesheet. So realising that I have to do that, as well as because obviously being a smaller firm, there are less people to go to. Someone's off sick, or multiple people are in court, so there's not always an array of people to ask a question to, and you have to compartmentalise and prioritise the things that need to be actioned straight away versus, okay, this is a question that I do need to ask someone else for an answer to, but it's not something that needs to be dealt with right now. It can wait until that person gets out of court or that person comes back from leave, or those sorts of things. So I think that's probably the biggest challenge in navigating my to-do list.
But I will say I agree with you completely, because tracking time was a massive part of the challenge of becoming a solicitor.
Yeah.
And I think, we'll speak about this later, but the biggest tip I would have is just start early, because it's a really tough thing to navigate.
Absolutely.
And so on the days where you found you maybe didn't have many people to call upon, Jack, who are people that you would reach out to as mentors in your first year or first few years of practicing that you could rely on?
Ooh, that's a good question.
And similar to you, Ellie, if you want to chime in.
Well, I guess obviously at my firm, I would ask the other solicitors.
Yes.
I'm also quite close with a few barristers, so and especially being on the board, FLPA board, I've got access to other family lawyers who are in various brackets of their seniority. So I've always got, I feel like, a good group around me to ask any questions. Specifically with, differing experiences with a certain issue in a matter, or different perspectives on a different aspect of the law, or talking recently about the new family law amendments, getting different people's views on that, or especially another thing is precedent orders. We can have conversations very regularly about precedent orders, and there's always different views as to how things are done. So it's good to kind of have that fulsome knowledge bank to get different positions and drafting.
Well, I will say, when I first started out practicing, I was in a smaller firm and I didn't have the benefit of having an associateship. So I really relied on my connections through FLPA events, and I'm not just plugging that.
No, I agree.
The FLPA podcast.
I agree.
But I made friends with a few other junior practitioners, and we created a group chat. There was 4 of us, and we could bounce ideas off each other, and I found that really helpful in my first year. So really making the most of the connections that you make at FLPA events really helped me. Yeah,
and I think a lot of the questions I would say that I have, or the things that I'm doing, I would say, because I'm obviously at a smaller firm, I'm a lot more hands-on with matters. So I feel like there's, not a team doing a certain aspect of a matter and then there's someone else doing this. Everything would be on my to-do list in matters, compiling disclosure and drafting briefs and drafting affidavits and doing absolutely everything with whoever I'm on it with going over it with me. Whereas I'm not sure whether that's something that, and I guess Ellie can talk more about this, whether that's something that you experience.
Definitely. I think our structure here, I guess, is similar to, I would say, most other firms, but we'll always have a direct line. So I'll work under, whether it be a senior associate and then a partner or just a partner. And so I think I still get my experience has been a very hands-on approach. And so you can be pretty busy with your file load. But going back to what you were saying, I think my experience has almost been opposite in terms of like I didn't have the benefit to, I didn't have really any connections in family law. Like Emily, as I said at the beginning, was my one go-to who I knew had been in family law, and I trust your opinion, but it was very much important. Well, it was very important for me to reach out and figure out who my mentors and connections would be. And so I think always you can rely on, I was similarly worked at barristers' chambers, and they were able to guide me into sort of general questions I had about my career or career choices. But it was very much a matter of networking and finding other juniors who I could really rely on. And then I was fortunate enough to have a pretty positive experience when I joined the team, that I could feel pretty vulnerable and ask questions.
Yeah. And when at times when you do feel vulnerable or you're having challenging days, particularly, you know, in your first few years of practicing, how did you manage that, Ellie? Like, what was your outlet? What did you do?
I think my personality has given me a bit of a foot up in terms of I am not too shy to ask for questions or for help. So I think, again, because I had sort of navigated as quickly as I could when I joined the team, who were those key people who I could feel vulnerable with and say, look, I have no idea what this is. Like, I will never forget my first day. I truly had no idea what disclosure was. And so I had come in very much from the state court system and commercial litigation and the family law rules and Family Law Act were a whole nother set of cards for me. And so I really had to figure out who I could speak to and ask for help. And I think just say, hey, I don't know what we're talking about here. Can somebody give me some guidance?
Ellie, that's some really good advice, and I completely agree with you. It's best to speak up when you're feeling vulnerable or stuck on something. And Jack, has there been any challenging days that you've had that you can speak to about how you overcame that?
Absolutely. I think in your first year, most days are quite challenging because you're trying to navigate whether you understand the law correctly, whether you know the document you're filling out is correct. And I guess the same thing as what Ellie was saying, like ask people that are around you. I feel super lucky. My partner used to be a family lawyer. So quite regularly I'd go home and say, I have no idea what I'm doing in this situation. Let's talk through it. I just need to make sure that I am understanding the law correctly or something like that. And I think taking difficult days home, I try not to, because I'm very cautious that to have a work-life balance. And I think it's super important to separate Jack as a solicitor and Jack as a person and a personal life. And I use it by wearing a suit. So
Symbolic.
if I need to go home and talk to my partner about something, I'll keep my suit on. And I don't take my suit off, or if I've had a bad day, I'll say hello and give him a hug.
You're getting unchanged.
And then I'll say, I just need to go and get
Take
changed. And I won't, as soon as I get home, I won't take the dog for a walk in my suit. I won't have a fulsome conversation with my partner while I'm in my suit, because that's like me changing my uniform. I'm like changing out of Jack at work, and if Jack's had a bad day, I'm not bringing that home into my house. It's like I had a friend in paramedicine, and she said to me, as soon as I got home, I would have a shower and just wash the day off of me. And taking my suit off at the end of the day is the same sort of thing. Like, that's how I recoup and refresh myself, so that I'm not bringing any bad emotions from my day home. I was very lucky when I was at the court. We had a lot of services available to us, and I, understood how important talking to a therapist or those sorts of things, and just chatting through how you handle things. So I think that's obviously something really good to have in your back pocket. One other thing I do is I try my hardest to, at the end of every day, the one thing that I do when I bring bringing work home, what have you, is I write in my gratitude journal. So I make sure that I find 3 things during my day that I'm grateful for, and I could have had the worst day. I could have drafted so many documents and the feedback was just, this is not correct or this was not right. But I like remind myself what I'm grateful for about that. Well, I'm grateful for getting that feedback so that I don't make that mistake again. Or I'm grateful for the barista that made my coffee this morning because she like gave me a smile when I was going through a really rough patch during the day. Or grateful for taking my dog for a walk and having that really, I've had a really frustrating time talking to a client on the phone, and I will talk to my dog like I'm talking to that client. And just trying to really separate. I've listened to this podcast the other day. Funny enough, we're talking on a podcast, and it said that emotions only last for 90 seconds.
Okay.
So I try to get past in a minute and a half feeling an emotion. So if I'm feeling frustrated about something that I've done incorrectly or frustrated by feedback that someone's told me, I sit with myself for a minute and a half. I look at the clock and I sit with it for a minute and a half. And I say, right, get over it.
And after that,
I just need to move on. If I'm still feeling like it, I'll go get a coffee, because getting a coffee is my favourite thing to do today.
Fixes everything.
Yeah,
I agree.
I can have about 4 coffees. I mean, my chest is
We don't need to promote that.
my chest is pumping. But that's the one thing I'll do. If I need to like refresh, I'll go for a walk. I go to the gym during the day.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to like just recenter myself. Massive thing for me is self wellness and looking after yourself, because I feel like if you're not looking after yourself, then you can't be the best person you want to be at work.
Yeah, and I agree. And to be honest, you've gave some really good examples of writing a gratitude journal, going to the gym at work, taking your suit off, at the end of a day that symbolises you leaving lawyer Jack and going into personal Jack. Is there anything else you do to maintain a healthy work-life balance?
I think they're probably the three biggest things. Yeah, I enjoy to make sure that I'm surrounding myself with friends and a really good support network, because I think, especially in law, I think if you don't have a really good support network, you obviously struggle. And I think the difficult thing working in family law, and from my experience, I guess I've only been a solicitor for 6 months, so I'm getting this other side or this other experience in my career. But especially when I was an associate, you're dealing with a lot of heavy topics. Some are sexual abuse, some are domestic violence, and they're obviously things that some of us haven't been exposed to in our personal lives. So it's difficult trying to speak to your loved ones or people that are around you who don't understand those things, what you could be struggling with sometimes. So I think it's quite important to have that safety net around you of friends at different firms, like Ellie and the two of you. I'm really good friends with the both of you, and having those people around you that you can talk to about, obviously within the parameters of confidentiality and the like, but saying, I've had this really bad matter today, there was sexual abuse allegations or there was domestic violence, and it's really thrown me
or a bad experience in court.
Exactly. And it's just talking to those people, because I think we can all appreciate a hard day in this area of law, whereas I feel and I'm just super lucky, I think, going home, if I still need to talk about it, my partner practice in this area, but I think some people don't have that that sort of experience and that sort of situation when they get home. So I can completely understand that it can be quite difficult. If you're going home you're a lawyer and your partner's a doctor or a tradie or something like that, they might not actually be able to understand.
That's my life.
Yeah, it's just I think it's really important to have that. Yes, you have a work network with all your colleagues, but you need to have a friendship network with your work colleagues, so that you can unpack those things and actually speak in a safe environment.
Yes. Well, I know Ellie has the benefit of a really good work colleagues and connections, but lucky. Similarly, you have a very good friendship group outside of work. But what do you do to maintain a good work-life balance?
Well, I think there are a lot of things that I really try to focus on, and I should say from the outset that it has been a work in progress and a balancing act to try and figure out from my first year what I need to do to maintain that balance. I think there's been way too many nights where I had my emails on my phone and I'm sitting there, whether it even be across the dinner table or at a social function, and I'm just doom scrolling on my emails, which I hate to admit, but I think is the reality for a lot of us. And it was just putting boundaries in place to maybe delete the app or, really just be strict with myself to not look at the emails and only go on your work laptop, obviously Monday to Friday, or stay at the office until you need to. And then when you go home, similarly, I do what you do, Jack. I be in my work gear until I need to decompress. And then if I need to speak about it or if I need to send more emails or whatever. But after that point, I'm getting changed and I'm getting into a comfy outfit and I'm just switching off and I'm doing things that are really good for me. And I'm not just sitting there sort of going down a black hole of stress and anxiety that doesn't need to occur, because there's always tomorrow and you can speak to somebody about it in the morning. But I think, as you said, I'm really lucky and I've got a really good group of friends from whether it be school or uni or my associateship. And again, those connections are helpful because none of them are in family law, but they get it. I mean, everybody has stress in their job. And so it's just nice to be able to go for a walk or walk my dog or go get a wine or a coffee and just decompress. And then also in a whole nother aspect, not talk about work at all. Like do a lot of things that don't focus on work. And even with our work colleagues, like I think we do a lot of things together that have nothing to do with work. I go to the gym. I think that is very dependent on my mood and my outlook on the day. I think it's really important to start by whether it be literally going for a walk or going to a gym class or something like that. But just do something for yourself every day, whether it be before or after work or at lunch, whenever. Tick that off the to-do list. I also think it is really important to take leave. I know there's controversial views on that, but we're all entitled to our annual leave. And I just think no one's wearing a cape for never taking your annual leave. And I think it's really important, like go and spend important milestones with your family and your friends and go and celebrate things with those who matter and just enjoy your life and have experiences outside of the workplace.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So those are a few key things that I do. I love to travel, love to eat. So it's good to, do things non-work related.
So I know taking annual leave is particularly rewarding, particularly as a junior lawyer. Getting some time off is great.
When appropriate.
Yes, when appropriate. But is there any experiences in your first year that you did find rewarding that you can speak to?
I think just in a general sense, it was the fact that I learned a lot. I went into family law having no idea that I would enjoy it as much as I did. And I was really lucky to have some really great matters and sit in on court appearances and work with some fantastic counsel and colleagues. And I learned a lot. And then that's really set me up for the last few years of a really productive career in family law. So I think that's always my highlight. The other thing is coming back to what I was saying about Hopgood Gannam earlier. It's a big firm, and so I think you can start your first year and feel really lost and you don't know everyone, you don't know who that person is walking down the hallway or who's in the elevator, but being able to connect and then make those connections within the firm, that whether that refers you work or whether you work on a file together, and you can develop those networks, and then that leads into a whole other set of rewarding aspects to my work, which is great.
Yeah, I agree. And Jack, are there any experiences that you can share with us?
I think from what I can, from what I can say, I think getting a really rewarding outcome for a client, especially when in circumstances where you're working with, your clients day in, day out, before an interim hearing or a trial or something to that effect, when you get the outcome that you're working so hard towards, I think that's really rewarding, especially when, depending on what matter it is, those clients can be extremely vulnerable and really not have any
autonomy over that.
Yeah, autonomy, and especially when you're the only people in that person's life who are asserting for them and acting for them and trying to tell them that they're worth fighting for, and those sorts of things. It's and as cliche as that sounds, I think that's really quite rewarding. I also have been super lucky that this first year of being a lawyer has been my first proper year on the FLPA board. So I felt that extremely rewarding because I can do things outside of the normal 9-to-5 lawyer role and assist with, lists, podcasts and networking events and CPD events and those sorts of things. And I find that really rewarding in the sense that I can, I feel like there's been a lot of people in my circle that have helped me get to where I am. So I think it's really rewarding being able to do my part as junior as I am to give back to the community that I feel like has helped support me in this career that I'm, evolving. And I think that's quite rewarding as well.
I'll say on that point as well, I think coming into family law and having FLPA as an association who actually put on events, and you can go to all of these educational seminars and then meet other juniors from other firms, that's been really rewarding for me, because I certainly didn't experience that in other jurisdictions where I've worked previously. And I think planning an environment have their own association, but many jurisdictions don't.
Yeah.
And so for me as a junior, that was really rewarding because that's your opportunity to meet people and network and learn a lot. So that was great.
I also find that volunteering really helps giving back to the community, which is quite rewarding, but also practicing your legal skills and your legal knowledge. So, Caxton Legal Centre, you can be a family law volunteer. The Women's Legal Service has a divorce clinic and a family law clinic. So volunteering your time there does really help put your knowledge into practice and also gives you that element of giving back to the community, which is also really rewarding, which is good.
I agree.
Yeah.
So moving on now, is there any advice you would give to a law graduate in their first year or looking to, become a lawyer that you could provide?
Take absolutely every opportunity that you're offered. I think that's probably the best advice. I mean, regardless of how, tired you are, how late it could be, how, there's that, and I've preached, work-life balance. But I also think that there's so much benefit in just saying yes to everything, especially in your first year, because if you're saying yes to everything, you're going to be known as the yes person, and people are going to give you those opportunities because you will go to networking things and you will be the person that does, I need a file note done and, the secretaries have gone, would you mind just drafting it? Yeah, of course I'll do that. Just being the yes person, because I think that's probably the best attribute to have. And then once you kind of get to a place where you're known as that, then you can start saying, oh no, I'm not doing
boundaries.
But putting those boundaries in place. And I don't think that, saying yes, be the yes person, you don't have boundaries in place, but I think there's an importance of saying yes in your first year to things, especially going to networking things. I know that, by the end of the day on a Friday, you're like, oh, God, I don't want to have to get dressed up and go to this networking thing, or I don't want to have to go and talk to all these people and, try and make conversation with people that I don't know. But I think that it makes you better at being a public speaker in the sense that you're able to just rattle off conversations like the back of your hand, and you're
selling
able to
yourself a bit
at
networking functions, talking about what you do.
Exactly, and then therefore that's going to be a benefit when you're in court. I mean, we at our firm we do a few of the solicitors do BNI, which is, for those that don't know it, know what BNI is. You go depending on the day it is, you will go to a networking breakfast, and there's one person from each area of a career. There could be an accountant, there could be a family lawyer, blah blah blah. And you go and you network and you give explain what your business is, and you do these presentations and that sort of thing. And I got thrown into that on my first week. I got thrown into that. So, one of the solicitors couldn't go. I said, Jack, go along to BNI, and I was like, oh God, no, I don't want to do that. Like, this is my first week. I barely know how to be a solicitor. I don't want to have to think about networking and that sort of thing off the back of it as well. Anyway, I went, and there's a 60-second thing where you, in 60 seconds, you have to explain what your business is, or something you've done in the week, or something what your business is looking for. And I've gone maybe now 2 dozen times to these things, and I feel like that has, just saying yes in that first instance I'm now the person that people in the firm will come to, be like, oh, can you just go and do this? And I'm like, yeah, of course. Because now that has created another skill that I didn't have 5 months ago, being able to just talk about a very specific topic for 60 seconds and making it quite like, you can talk about, say, an apple. You can talk about an apple for 60 seconds, it's red, it's round, it's a fruit, blah, blah, blah. But actually talking about it in a way that's like engaging and people actually want to be listening is a completely different thing. And I feel like I wouldn't have that experience or be able to do that and have grown and nurtured that skill if it wasn't for saying yes at the very beginning.
Yes.
When I was a nervous wreck walking into a law firm being like, what the hell am I doing? How can I do all this?
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And do you have any advice you'd give?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so much advice, but I think one of my key things is write everything down. And I really mean that.
Take your notepad everywhere.
Take your notepad everywhere, or a laptop. I don't care, but just have something with you, because, you need to write everything down and for your own sake, but whether like you're getting instructions to draft something or you're going into a file note or a telephone call or heaven forbid court, like please take something with you so that you can just get an accurate record of everything, because it will help you and it will help you learn. And looking back on my notes when they're scratchy and I have no idea what on earth I'm meant to be doing, they are still so helpful. And then again, that kind of ties back into my ask questions. So if you don't know what you're meant to be doing, like there is no worse feeling than sitting there at your desk thinking, I truly don't know what I'm meant to be doing here, or you're just completely off tangent. And I think you just ask a question, whether it be the person who's given you the task and the instructions or your partner or just another colleague. Ask a question, because they will help you. They will save your time and guide you in the right spot. Going back to what we spoke about earlier, just learning early to record your time, everything you do. I think it was drilled into us here. Don't cut your time down. Like you may think, oh gosh, that took me way too long. You might think that, but the next time you do it, it won't take you as long. So just record your time. And it's not, I mean, every firm has their own policy, but it's usually not your decision to whether you cut your time down, and that can be somebody else's decision.
I also think your hourly rates are reflective of your skill level and your ability and how long it might take you.
Absolutely.
So I completely agree. Do not cut your time down. Just record it as is, and if a partner thinks, oh, that needs to be written down, or do an overall discount of the bill or whatever it might be that law firm does, that's the discussion that happens at the time. But record your time and record it accurately from the get-go and get into that habit.
Yeah, and I think if you get into the habit of doing it, then everything you do is captured. Like if you're going to a networking function, you can capture that. Your CPD, like there is no worse feeling than getting to March and figuring out what CPDs you have or haven't done. I mean, they're rewarding. People can find it like a bit of a laborious task in March, needing to redo all your points. But if they're recorded, you shouldn't have a problem. I think other than that, everything Jack said, I agree with. I do think in terms of the yes attitude, I really struggled with finding the balance, and I often then got told in reviews or just general discussions with colleagues when we were talking about feedback to find my feet to say no, because there does come a time where you don't have capacity. And I think as a junior, and particularly in that first year, I was petrified to announce I didn't have capacity or say, oh no, that's fine. I always wanted to do it and be involved and get that experience. But there's actually probably, what is the saying? Like, it's so simple. Under promise, over deliver. And I think that's just something to be cautious about when you're thinking about saying yes to things, particularly in terms of networking. I think definitely yes, always say yes. But just in other respects, just pause, think about where you're at, think about your work-life balance, your capacity, whether you need to have a conversation with somebody about whether you can actually say yes to that.
Going back to a point that you made, Ellie, about taking a notepad with you everywhere you go, I wholeheartedly agree with that. I thought that I was good at that. And then I got called into my director's office the other day, funny enough, and I thought it was only to answer a mathematical question of how did I calculate costs in this matter. Long and short of it was, I ended up being in her office for maybe 45 minutes talking about a matter, and I walked out with a coffee receipt full of a to-do list because I didn't take in my notebook and I had nothing to write on. But she was just rambling off things, and I was like, oh God, I need to write all this down, otherwise I'm going to forget it. And this is a letter that I need to draft, and I don't actually know what I need to do in this letter, but like she's telling me all the things, so I'm quickly writing things down. Yeah, I walked out with probably looking like an absolute weirdo. She probably thought, what the hell did Jack just do? But I just grabbed the closest thing that I could write on. I probably need to give her back this receipt.
I've got two examples exactly like that. One, which actually happens to me all the time. I'll be in an Uber on my way to or from court with the client, and they'll be rattling off things, often either relevant to the appearance or about the appearance we just had. And so I will pull up my phone notes. And I think, that might sound excessive and maybe people don't do that, but I'm always conscious of the fact that it's going to be that conversation one day that I don't take a record of. And similarly, like I had a really good experience with one of the partners here at Hopgood. I was up at court, and a practitioner on the other side ended up sort of making a bit of a funny comment about like, geez, like, do you really need to be writing these notes down? Because we were sort of having a conversation outside court prior to it starting. And then thankfully the partner I was working with said, oh, it'll be the one day she doesn't take a file note that she's asked for that file note. And I felt really supported in that moment because as a junior, I didn't, you're told you're going to court, take notes. And so I took that quite literally and took a lot of notes. And again, like I thankfully had the support from the partner I was working with to say, no, don't worry about what that person just said to you. Keep doing what you're doing. But yeah, my advice. Take notes. I think
it's absolutely take notes. And if you look silly doing it, who cares?
Who cares?
I think we could probably go back and forth telling stories about situations where we were in the middle of taking notes, and I think if you look silly doing it, it's probably right.
Like there's no wrong occasion to take a note.
I was briefing counsel in a mag's court matter the other day, and I was just standing up because I was at the magistrate's court. It's just chaos, and I was just standing up like he was talking to the client, and I was like, oh god, I need to be taking notes, and I was just balancing my laptop like a child and like trying to type. And I think, you know what, who cares what I look like, at least I'm getting those notes down. And it'll be a funny story.
Well, I can confirm I've never looked like that taking notes, Jack.
Right.
So
well, it's nice for some, isn't it?
There's one of us. Well, looking back on your first year and your early days as a career...
early days as a lawyer. We get what you're getting at.
Was there anything you would have done differently?
I think a few things. Well, not a few things, but just a few things I wish I could say to myself.
What would that be?
One big one was thinking I had to pigeon myself into a area of law. I think that's part on the university you go to and the influence that they have, and saying, you need to have it all figured out and you must do clerkships here. But there's so many other avenues to get into the area of law you want to go into. And I think, I did family law as a subject, and it was one subject of a whole degree. And so really you actually have no insight into what you want to do. But probably being a little less stressed about where I would end up, and just again saying yes to everything, taking all the, whether it be work experience or clerkships, etc., on board like I did. I think otherwise, when I was a solicitor, the one thing I would do differently is to realise that you are part of a team, and I'm lucky to be in quite a big team where there's lots of support, and I need to lean on that support. So don't think just because this task is due tomorrow, it all lands on you. Make it a collaborative effort. And obviously there's a time and a place, and people have different deadlines and other matters to work on. But we're really lucky that we have so many people working on a file, and you can get assistance and ask questions. And we've often briefed really good counsel, and you can bring them in early on a matter and get to a really good result. And so I think just making it a team approach and leaning on those around you.
What about you, Jack?
Well, I feel like everything that I've said this afternoon is like all about wellness. So after leaving law, I might go and open like a wellness retreat down in like Byron or something. I know. Doing a little bit of yoga on the beach or something like that. That'd be fabulous. As cliche as it sounds, and I love a cliche, Sandra Bullock in a 90s movie, my favourite.
Love.
But being kinder to myself. I think leaving uni and you work in this industry, you're surrounded by smart people. And it's okay not to be the smartest person in the room.
And you probably never will be.
Yeah, and you probably never will be. And I think, I think back to like the first time I drafted an affidavit, or, I remember drafting a reply affidavit one time, and the feedback that I got was just not what I was expecting, because, in my head I thought, oh, everything I do is great. I'm really good at, I can get everything done. I was always great at uni, blah, 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 blah. And getting feedback saying, no, you missed the mark, or you didn't do this correctly, or that's not how I wanted it, really hit home. And I was really hard on myself to think, you can't even do a reply affidavit. How are you going to be a solicitor? And thinking back to that now, I think, oh God, you were so stupid for whinging and whining about one small little thing that was your first time doing it.
But it feels so serious.
And it felt so, debilitating, and feel like the end of the world. I've been working towards this life. I've been working towards this career, and then I've been given this easy task, which I thought was, pretty straightforward, and I haven't reached the bar. So I think looking back, just being a lot easier on myself and saying, well, yeah, of course you're not going to get it right. It was the first time you ever drafted that, or you don't, there's barristers that have been working in family law for years and years, 20, 30, 40 years, and they can turn around and say, oh yeah, I didn't know that. I've got it like in court. I remember being in court, and when I was with Judge Firth, and people asked to stand down to say to her and I, oh, Your Honour, I don't know the answer to that right now, but if you can stand down, I'll go and find that answer for you. So it's okay not knowing.
Yeah.
I think I found that I really needed to change my mentality that any feedback, it doesn't mean I'm doing a bad job. Like,
yeah, I agree.
Feedback,
it's not personal.
No, take feedback as a learning opportunity.
Absolutely.
Instead of, oh my God, I'm so bad. Everything I've done is wrong. Why am I even doing law? You know, there's really debilitating days, which we all do have in our career of, have I chosen the right career path? Well, yes, you've just got to change your mindset, and it is, take this as a learning opportunity. You know, I've been given this feedback, I can improve, there is opportunity to improve here, and that's what my mentor or partner wants from me.
Yeah.
So really leaning into that mindset as opposed to, oh, I'm not good at what I do, and you know, what I've done is so wrong.
And I think it's silly to think, well, I think if you have thought about wanting to leave law and go and be a barista in a very country town or a hinterland town or a beach town, you're probably doing it right.
Yeah.
Like the amount of times that I've thought, you know what,
But can I say on that point,
me.
I have had so many recent experiences where perhaps a junior was working in another team or another firm or whatever it might be, and they have then just made a change and went again to like another firm or another team, and then turned around and said, oh, my experience is totally different here.
I love it.
So it's like that. It's not that one experience that needs to ruin it forever. And yeah, maybe law's not suited for everybody, and that's okay to make that decision too, because we all make different life paths. But I just think, I think different experiences can really mold a different path, and don't take it so harsh on the first occasion if you're not enjoying something or getting good feedback or thinking it will be what you thought it would be.
And I think as well, like I often, one of the things that, you know, I try and remember is, okay, well, I'm not happy with that outcome, or I'm not happy with what I've done there, but what would Jack 5 years ago be thinking? Or what would Jack 3 years ago be thinking? Oh my God, when I started uni and you tell me, oh yeah, in 5 years or 6 years, you're going to be,
I remember you in early uni.
I know, crazy, right?
We were very different.
Very different, like polar opposites to where we are now. And I think it's, if you can sit back and say, okay, would, you know, Emily or Ellie or Jack 5 years ago be happy with where I am now? And you can say yes, I think you're doing a pretty good job.
100%.
Because I think I can almost guarantee, you know, I bet my dog on it. Like, I love that little guy. I bet my dog on it. That every single person would say yes.
Yeah.
Like, it's been a hard road studying law and going into law, but I'm absolutely so proud of where I am.
Yeah.
The only other thing I'd say on that point as well is, I remember in my first year thinking that any progression or promotion even was so far away. Like, I thought this grad program is never going to end. I'm never going to progress. I'm never going to get more autonomy or figure out what I'm doing or get that pay rise. And then, I know it sounds again so cliche, but time goes so quickly, and you'll look back and think, oh, you know, I've got these great mentors, I've got this great job that I really enjoy, and I feel like I'm progressing, and I am working on good files that I am enjoying, and things can change very quickly in a number of years. And so I think, yes, that first year is hard, and you'll have really good experiences and some really, really challenging experiences, but things change pretty quickly.
Absolutely. It's a roller coaster.
Yeah, if you just make sure you've got good people around you and reach out when you need it.
And I think the thing, like, I think everyone has a thing that's getting them through their first year, and my thing is, I would love to say Jack in 5 years will have this, but it won't be Jack in 5 years. It'll be Jack in like 55 years, just living on my little farm with my cows and my ducks and you know, all
I'm coming for a long weekend.
Yeah, like that's that's the end goal. Just get through it. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I'll take my annual leave and come on a Friday.
I would also like to add, in terms of what I would have done differently in my first year, is having a bit more confidence. And I don't know if it's different personality traits or types, or females versus males, but I do find that I really lacked confidence in my first year and really second guessing everything that I did. And I just wish I could have grabbed my younger self and given her a big shake and said, have some confidence, like back yourself here. It's not that bad. And so that's just one thing that looking back on my early days, I really wish I could have done.
I completely agree.
Yeah, I think going back to like pointing that out is you wouldn't be where you are if you weren't good enough or you didn't get it.
Yes.
Like so like just like root for yourself.
Yeah.
Like you're there because you are good enough.
Yes.
Or you're there because you are smart enough. So like remember that and have that confidence to say, well, actually, I don't think that's correct, or I don't know whether like we should be doing it like that.
And back your skills that you have that are personal to you.
Yes.
Like I remember
Play to
thinking,
your skills.
I'm never going to know the case law as well as this guy down the hallway, and I probably won't. But maybe I'm better with clients than I am in other areas, and so having that confidence to really harness the skills that you are good at and say, these are the things I excel at. I'm going to absolutely nail them.
100%, I agree. And like know your strengths, know your weaknesses.
Absolutely.
Know that I'm great with managing clients, great with managing deadlines, but maybe I don't know the case law, and I can outsource that by briefing a barrister, running down the hall and asking my colleague who is really good with the law. Like play to your strengths.
Totally.
I think it's a really good piece of advice.
It's always like that saying, what is it, like, know what you don't know?
You don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know, but know what you don't know. Because if you know what you don't know, then
you don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to like chat GPT it to be really positive and...
Love it.
You can lean on your strengths and figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that wraps up today's episode of FLPA Talks, a family law podcast. I do want to say a really big thank you, Jack and Ellie, for your time tonight. You have been amazing in providing your insights on your first year as a family lawyer and providing your advice on how to overcome the challenges, talking about the good days in the job and everything in between. So thank you both so much for your time.
No, thank you. And I have had my timesheet running, so I'll
Thank you so much.
Thank
great.
you.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to FLPA Talks, a family law podcast. We hope you enjoyed the podcast today. We confirm that the information we discussed today was just that, information for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not specific advice. If something discussed has you considering whether you should take steps, it is important to make sure you get professional advice about your unique situation before you proceed, whether that be legal, financial, accounting, medical, or other advice. Please reach out to FLPA if there's another topic you'd like explored, and if you know someone who might benefit from the show, remember to tell them about it. Thank you for listening.